Hello, all my amazing GOVCON winners. We have a special treat today. We have Jerry Martin, who is the majority owner and president of A.B. Martin Services, Inc. He is in the supply area of federal government contracting, which is an area that I know you all want to know about, because it's an area that you're constantly asking questions about. So I'm going to turn it over to our amazing guest, our expert, who started this business in 1997, so he can share so much information. You're not going to want to miss out on any of this. So Jerry, welcome. Welcome so much to the amazing channel.
Thank you. Thank you. Love your introduction. You make me sound apart, and I'm just your average business guy out here that's been doing this for about 25 years, sourcing for the federal government for about 25 years. And the good news about that is I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned a lot of things along the 25 years in terms of having how to make a business work while you're sourcing for the federal government, and also how to avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into early on. And be glad to share that with your listeners. And I appreciate you so much for having me on. I've watched you. I try to I've got your little notification bell on, so I see all the new videos that come out. I've been watching you for a while, so I'm excited to talk with you.
Well, I'm super excited because you're in this area of sourcing, and I'm pretty confident that there may be some who are watching that are like, what is that? Because it's not really a term that you hear often on YouTube videos or Instagram or other places. So break it down for us, Jerry. What is sourcing? What does that mean?
I'm going to contrast sourcing from selling.
Okay.
Because with the federal government, you don't sell them anything, okay? They're going to buy what they want to buy. You're not going to go in there with a blue widget and say, I know you like blue widgets and I want to show you mine. They're going to say, we put in our offer exactly what we needed, and that's what we need. So sourcing is the flip side of that coin. The federal government puts out the proposals for a quote, or RFQs, requests for a quote, and that we find on sam.gov. And they name the equipment in that solicitation, and they also give you the specifications for it. So if they want a blue widget, it will say blue widgets only. So I contrast selling. People ask me if I sell to the government. I say, no, I really don't. I let them buy from me rather than selling to them. So that's kind of a funky way of contrasting sourcing and selling. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not a salesperson. You know, I'm just not a salesperson. And maybe they are already in business, and they do sell, or their product is sold outside, and maybe they don't sell it. Maybe they have reps that go out and sell it. But the small business person can source for the federal government and not have to worry about selling. But there are a few keys to that. We'll get into those when they're further down the road here.
Yes. And could you give us an example of something that you source for the government?
Yes. We currently have, I'm not sure, 7 to 8 national contracts with the government where we source a product for them. And when they issue these contracts, they're typically for a period of 3 to 5 years, and they're mandatory contracts. So if they buy one of those blue widgets, and I have it on contract, and they have to buy them all from me. And let me back up. I'm speaking of the Department of Veteran Affairs. I'm a veteran, and my socioeconomic status, quote unquote, my unfair advantage, is SDVOSB. So we have contracts for ophthalmic equipment, everything that would go in an eye doctor's office, from the chairs to the examination instruments that he has, various ones. We source safe patient handling equipment. We have that on contract. Safe patient handling can go from everything from wheelchairs on up to ceiling lifts, where you have to lift someone out of bed, and then our portable lifts. My daughter is totally disabled as a result of her service in 1993. And we just recently ordered from the VA a automatic lift that will lift her out of bed, allow us to take her to the bathroom or into the shower without two people struggling to lift her and get her there. So we source safe patient lifting. We source ophthalmic equipment. We have national contracts for dental equipment, all the little hand tools that go in a dentist office. I have had contracts in the past for point of care items, such as the carts that the nurses roll into your room and get your meds out of. I've had contracts for those. So the VA over the past 5 years has gone a lot to these national contracts. And it just keeps them from doing so many RFQs for the same thing over and over. And but we source custom furniture for the government. There's a company in Michigan that makes custom cabinets for hospitals. They're really pretty wood cabinets made out of walnut or cherry. And there are VA hospitals and military hospitals around the country that want to spruce up their rooms while they're doing a remake of the hospital. And so they'll order these cabinets. They might order 50 of them, one for each room. And we are the sole source for those cabinets, which is another term we'll talk about a little later. Sole sourcing. Very important.
Yes, it's definitely important. And, hearing all this, I imagine, man, do you have some like Amazon style warehouse with cabinets and carts and dental equipment and, ophthalmology equipment? Do you have, where does all this come from? Do you have a warehouse? Who's providing all of these items?
I do have a warehouse, but 99% of all the items that we deliver to the federal government are drop shipped. So I never have to touch them. And by drop ship, that's where the manufacturer ships it to my end user. So, and that's so nice. I used, and let me think how many years ago this is. 50 years ago, I owned a business that was an appliance store, washers, dryers, refrigerators. And I had to have a warehouse to keep all my washers and dryers and all my refrigerators in, and had to make sure that I kept replenishing that warehouse so I didn't sell out of items. In 1981, I had an IRS audit. And I'll tell you the end of the story first. They didn't find anything.
Good.
But it was about 6 months of drudgery going through every piece of paperwork where I brought stuff in, and I had to show them where it went out, and then had to show them the receipt for it. They were on me like white on rice. After that audit, I decided my perfect business will be little or few or no employees, because that was another big deal. The employees, they really went deep into the employees. No receivables and no inventory. Hey, now that's the perfect business. And I come as close to perfection as I can, just like with my wife. I think she's perfection, but I know I've come pretty doggone close. And so my business is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I do have receivables. The good thing is the receivables are from the federal government. Federal government pays.
Yes.
You don't do any collection unless there's a breakdown in the system. They're going to pay you every time. And there are a few exceptions where somebody in their warehouse forgot to count something, and we have to ask them to go back and recount it. Very few. So I have no inventory, receivables from somebody that's always going to pay. And I do have employees, but they are commission driven. Mm-hmm. So I'm not paying, they're like subcontractors of mine. They're commission driven. They make a sale, they get a big part of that, of our gross profit on that item, and the company gets the balance. Mm-hmm. So that's my business model. It's certain, it's not a pair of shoes that fits everybody. Let me mention, you forgive me if I use some odd terms here. I'm kind of a philosopher wannabe, but business, and I believe this sincerely, businesses are like a pair of shoes. You know, you go into the shoe store, Kizzy, and you will find a pair, man, those are beautiful. Mm-hmm. But if they don't have them in your size, hey, they don't work. They hurt your feet. And even if you buy them, it's still not going to work. They just sit on the shelf. Businesses are the same way. They might look good, or a business model might look good, but if it doesn't fit who you are or what you're currently doing, then that business model is not for you. And of your viewers, the people that are already in business, they have a business model currently. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, they are structured. They know how they get the product, how they take it to market. They may change their model a little, which change is always a good thing. But they may change their model a little when it comes to government sourcing for government products. But that's a business model I developed a long time ago after a bad experience with the IRS. And I decided I'm going to stay with it because now there's only, just my paycheck to audit, and I don't have any inventory. I do carry inventory. Let me back up on that. I do have a warehouse. We have about 2,400 square foot warehouse next to our office. I carry inventory for a local VA.
Oh, okay.
In Fayetteville, Arkansas. They don't have enough storage space. Like when COVID was rampant, I bought them disposable trays, disposable food trays that are one-touch trays. And basically the people in the cafeteria never touch them. If they do, they have gloves on, mm-hmm. but they put the food on it. Then with their gloves, they set it in the carrier that brings it to our rooms, which is another good product to sell, I might add. The nurse will roll that carrier in, the patient takes it off, consumes the food, and then puts it in a disposable, a recyclable bin, which they roll in. So touched very, very seldom by nobody with their hands, a couple with gloves. So anyhow, they wanted to buy, they needed a lot of those. So I bought several pallets of these, and I'm able to store them in my warehouse, deliver them as they need them. And they really appreciate that.
Yeah, I can imagine that they definitely appreciate it. And
we have a lot of hand sanitizer we bought back during early COVID days, which is still in our warehouse. We're looking to make somebody a good deal on some of that, but we try to move out old inventory. I try to warehouse very few things unless it's for a local VA.
Okay. And for those who are just starting out, or if you were to put yourself in their position, if you were to start all over again today, what kind of advice can you offer to all of our amazing GovCon winners out there who are like, I want to get in government contracting?
Well, let's define starting out. I'm a big user of rabbit holes. I want to go pretty far down that rabbit hole here to see what's at the bottom. First of all, you have your viewers that are already in business and want to start out selling to the government from their existing business, maybe hopefully their existing products. Then you have your viewers that are not in business yet, but want to start sourcing for the federal government. I spent a little time preparing some high-tech graphics that I think they will appreciate. Now, I live in Arkansas and we don't have a lot of uptown stuff, okay? But I'm proud of these graphics, and this is the first thing I would recommend, okay?
Yeah.
I might have to scold my wife over her scribbling. She really didn't do this, I did, but I like to blame her. Business plans. You have to have a business plan.
Yes.
You need a business plan for your government business, just like you need a business plan for your current business. Then you must learn how to use your resources. Very important. And I'll go into a little detail on that. Then you need to seek advice from those that have done it, or those that know something about what you don't know. None of us are keepers of all knowledge.
Right.
Some of us have lived a long time. We won't talk about those. But let's talk about using resources. Anytime someone comes to me and says, I do some consulting on a personal basis mostly, but sometimes on a business basis. But and they say, Jerry, I lost my job. What do I need to do? Use your resources. Look at yourself first. What experience do you have? But just as importantly, who do you know? The people you know are important. And if you know somebody that has sourced for the federal government, go sit down, talk to them, buy them a cup of coffee or invite them over. They're not going to worry that you're a competitor, because the federal government marketplace is so humongous. Y'all will never see each other in the marketplace. So I would say that's one, first of all, your personal knowledge about business, maybe, about the product you want to source for the government, and then resources. Another resource that is so important that a lot of people overlook, if you're not selling a product that you produce, let's say you're starting to sell for the federal government for the first time. Excuse me, I used the wrong word. Starting to source for the federal government for the first time. And you're sourcing medical refrigerators. That's something that we source on occasion. Well, you need to know what a medical refrigerator is. And I would recommend that if you know a nurse or somebody that works in a hospital or somebody that works in a doctor's clinic, talk to them and say, hey, do y'all have a medical refrigerator? And if they do, you need to go look at it. Make note of what brand it is, how big it is, if it's built in or not built in. Then, if there's a VA hospital in your community or within reasonable driving distance, go to that VA hospital or military hospital, same thing. If you can get on base, and you can if you make prior arrangements, to go on a military base, you typically will have to call ahead, and you may have to fax them some information about you, a copy of your driver's license, and a purpose of your visit. But try to go look at these refrigerators. Here's a big word, in situ. And that is, I think that's Latin, means in place. It's in the situation, if you will. But go look at it where it's being used and talk to the users. After you do that, you can come back home and say, I know what they need now. And I've got a brand name I can do. Now, oftentimes in the solicitation or request for a quote, they will name a brand name. But then right after they name the brand name, it will say or equal. That's very important. Because if that brand name manufacturer doesn't want to deal with you, because let's say he just won't quote you for some reason, then you can go to his competitors and find a competitor that makes a refrigerator that meets their specifications and quote that. So resources, most of us have resources we never think about. And so you need my first advice just starting out is take an inventory of your resources and then start looking for other resources that you might bring into your world for that. The other thing, one of the resources that's so important when you're first starting out in the government business, regardless if you're already in business, sorry for the high tech, PTAC.
Yes.
Procurement, technical, assistance center. I had to think about it. I just always refer to it as PTAC. But each state has a PTAC. Every state has one. And they are wonderful people. Their only business is to help the person that wants to source for state and local and federal governments. That's what they're there for. They realize that the government bureaucracy at whatever level can be daunting. So search for PTAC in your state, or just search for PTAC, and that takes you to a national website. You click on your state, and there is one of the greatest resources you will need starting out. And I still use PTAC 25 years after starting. I seldom a month goes by that I don't call and ask the question. And they kind of know me now. So they're always act like they're happy to hear from me. They answer my question. And if they don't know the answer, they have resources where they can. The other word written right here on this bulletin board, I guess, is process. It's important that everybody that sources for the federal government understand the process of doing that. I like to bring my family into things. My son-in-law went to work for Tyson's, 20, 25 years ago, Tyson Chicken, which is headquartered nearby our location. And they trained him on some computer programming software. And he come home one day and he says, well, I'm learning their processes. And I said, not being the keeper of knowledge. I said, what are you talking about? He says, Jerry, everything is a process. And I said, really? He said, yes. Putting your shoes on is a process. First, you got to find the shoes. Then you got to check to see if you got socks are on, and so on and so forth. So everything's a process. The government has a different process than most of the domestic businesses that we deal with every day. And PTAC can help you understand that process. How you ship them, how you invoice them, how you get paid, where, do you get a check or do you get electronic funds into your checking account? It's all a process that the government does differently than most, what I refer to as domestic businesses. So that would be my early, I probably talked too long on that. That's my early recommendations for people that wanting to start in the government business.
No, that's terrific, because you have to have this moment where you come to terms with what is really needed to be successful. Yes. Even if you've had a business, whether you're starting out, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're looking to even partner with someone and form, a partnership, and you have to begin.
That's it.
You have to start. You got to start. And learning, I want to really emphasize learning those processes are key. because it also will minimize aggravation, frustration, and overall stress because they have their own ways.
Right.
It's just hands down how it is. And I also love the fact, Jerry, that you still are learning and that you still ask for assistance.
I have two superpowers I've shared with you offline. My first superpower is curiosity. And I mean that in every way. I was born curious, just like a little kitten. And I'm always curious about everything. And that leads you to learning. And so I want to learn more. My other superpower is stupidity. I don't have all the answers ever. So I have to be willing to recognize I need to find those answers from people smarter than I am on that particular subject, wherever it is. And I think those two superpowers go together. So you need to learn and you're curious about learning. So
Yes.
Little talk there.
I love
that. I do
that.
think the one mistake a lot of people make in business is they fail to start. You can think about it. You can watch YouTube for months and months, but you have to start. And here's a bit of my philosophy. My one grandchild, by the time she was, I'm going to say 4, I taught her this. It's a profound statement, and I'll explain that in a moment. Nothing happens until someone does something. It's also a rule in physics that, an object placed placed in a stationary position will remain there until a force is applied to it. My wife explained, this is my second wife, and right after we were married, she pointed out my socks on the floor. And I said, in the afternoon, I said, well, yeah. She said, those won't be moved until a force is applied to them. And you're going to be the force. So, I learned right then that she was right. You got to apply force before something happens. Nothing happens before somebody does something. And keep that in mind if you're trying to start up in a business or change your business.
And what are some other mistakes that you have, maybe experienced, or you're like, oh my goodness, please avoid this at all costs, that you can share with our amazing audience?
There are a lot of those I could share, but I'll just try to highlight it. One is never argue with a contracting officer.
Yes.
Do not do that. You don't get mad around your money. And that is hard to learn. I had a hard time learning it because for some reason, I thought, well, if I got mad enough, he was going to change his decision. They're kind of like baseball umpires. Ain't going to happen. So what you need to do is be extremely nice and courteous and humble. I have made over the years several contracting officers unhappy with me. Now there are probably 20, 25,000 contracting officers in the federal government. So 2 or 3 you would think wouldn't hurt you. But I've seen their names come up several times over the years. And I wish I hadn't got mad with my money. So be humble. If you don't win it, you learn something from it. That's the price that you pay by when you lose or you fail. Yes, that's a price you pay for your learning when you lose or fail. Try to always be nice and courteous. I guess the second most often mistake that I've made, and I'm glad to say it's not so often these past 10 or 12 years. I wouldn't read everything in the solicitation. And for instance is, I'll tell one on someone else, although I've been just as guilty. About 2008, my local hospital, VA hospital, ordered about $200,000 worth of furniture.
Okay.
I bid on it because they're only 12 minutes from me. Some gentleman in New Jersey bid on it also. He won the proposal for $600 out of 200,000 something over my bid.
Mm.
But he did not read all of the solicitation. These solicitations, the short, well, I wouldn't say, a lot of times they run 42 pages. That just seems to be a magic number, 42 pages. And and a lot of it you do get used to because it's kind of boilerplate for regulations that they refer to, but there's a lot of detail in that solicitation. And maybe on about page 12, it said, vendor must be present on day of delivery. So that wasn't a big deal for me because I'm only 12 minutes away. He was in New Jersey. Two bad things happened. First of all, the day of delivery, the hospital was waiting on someone to carry it into where they wanted it, up and down the floors. That's the reason they wanted the vendor to be there, so they could help place the furniture inside. It was delivered in the morning, and in the afternoon, we had a big thunderstorm. And all that furniture was ruined because it sat outside because there was no one to put it in. That's a fact. So the government has options. They always have options, something everybody needs to keep. One, they go back to the vendor and tell him he's at fault and he's got to replace it at his cost. Or B, they can say, this doesn't taste good, but we're going to eat it and re-put it back out for bid, which is they chose option 2. And so I got the bid the next time when they put it back out for bid. $600 wasn't too much to ask rather than losing $200 and some odd thousand worth of furniture. Wow. So read the contract. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, a teacher of mine, that was 2 of the happiest years of my life, I think, 8th grade. May have been 3. But read the question. RTQ. Read the question. Well, read the solicitation because it can cost you money. And another way it will cost you money, for instance, is on shipping. Depending on who you're sourcing for. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they pay the shipping, the government will, and sometimes they won't. They will not pay the shipping. So you have to know who's going to pay the shipping. It may not be a line item on RFQ. So if you just quote the line item, he wants 10 of these at $10, that's $100. I'm going to charge you $100. But then you read down later, or you fail to read down, you're responsible for the shipping, or FOB destination, which means you're responsible for the shipping. Then you've got maybe $60 or $70 that ate up all your profit, and you lost money on a $100 bid. So shipping is very important. So you've got to read the solicitations and learn to highlight the parts that you need to read. After you review a few of them, take a yellow highlighter, just highlight them, knowing that you've got to read that over and over and one more time before you send off your quote.
Wow.
So
that is fantastic advice, because you definitely have to read the offer, read the quote, so you don't end up like that gentleman from New Jersey.
Exactly.
I know we lost out on a very big contract vehicle because yours truly did not provide signed contracts. And so the contract officer disqualified us. And it's my mistake. I didn't read it. I didn't provide. Yeah. And, sometimes that learning tax is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you one that's larger than yours. that I did.
Oh, no.
I signed a 5-year contract for purple widgets
Okay.
to deliver. And the gross number on that contract was around $18 million. That was the amount of product that was going to be delivered over the 5 years.
Wow.
When yours truly priced that contract, I did not read my solicitation well. So I gave them a price, let's say, now we're talking $18 million. I gave them a price that was 3%. So because it was such a large contract, I quoted it 3% over my cost. Not too bad, 3% of $18 million. But in the solicitation, another page or two down that I found out after I was awarded the contract, I had to pay the government a 3% processing charge in addition. So guess what? Make nothing. That's a painful stuff.
I'm in pain processing that.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
But I've learned since I got some good learning, as they say here in Arkansas, for that right there.
Sure did, Jerry. And also, so everyone has an idea, if you can share kind of on average, what is your business bringing in, or whatever number you feel comfortable sharing, so people have an idea of what this sourcing.
I'll give you a 5-year average.
Okay.
Which is a little more accurate. We've done a lot more than this year, but just taking the last 5 years, we do about $5 million a year in government sales. But because we've acquired these contracts over the past 3 years, our average, if we just looked at the past 3 years, is probably closer to 7 million. And it's going up because these are mandatory contracts, which are not easy to get. I will say getting a mandatory contract is probably, you're going to have to get established in the arena of government sourcing because they're really trusting you to deliver all this. Even if you lose money, they want it delivered. Okay. And you never want to not do a contract. You never want to say, well, I was just kidding. I don't want to do this. Because if you do, you'll never get another one. Yep. So you have to take your medicine and smile. So that's what we do. We have, I have 2 in-house commission people, and 2 out-of-house. By out-of-house, I mean they live in another state or whatever, but they've been with our company. One of them is an independent rep, so he sources for several companies. Okay. I'm just one of the companies he sources for. And when he finds an opportunity and we are awarded, then of course he gets paid from us. And then I have a couple of office people, 3 office people, I think, counting myself.
And you mentioned about, being a philosopher. I would love to hear just a little bit more about this business philosophy that you were sharing before we started recording.
If, as a businessman, I do have a partner in my business, and Alan is so important to me. He's the brains, I'm the looks. You got to use your tool belt, right?
You got to have the looks. You got to have it.
First day he came on as CEO of my company, he and I sat down and talked. Now, of course, we talked a lot prior to his employment, but he made a statement that I just cannot forget. He said, Jerry, business moves at the speed of trust. And it does. If your employees or your partners or the people around you don't trust you, it ain't gonna work. So and if your suppliers or your customers, again, be they whoever, they sense that you're not trustworthy, it does not work. Above all, you've got to be good to your word and be trustworthy, even if it costs you money. So that's the number one piece of philosophy I would encourage everybody to remember. Business moves at the speed of trust. And I appreciate Alan saying that. I guess I've kind of touched on a couple of others. One other one is, and this is Alan's also, never get mad with your money. And unfortunately, I had done that prior to him coming. And I may have done it once or so in the last 5 years, but I have learned to smile and be humble. Being humble is something we all need to learn.
Yes.
And another one, no one is the keeper of all knowledge. Some of us think, well, I've done this so long, I know everything about it, and you say this, but I know better. The best, listen, who was it? Ross Perot may predate a lot of your viewers, I don't know, but I remember when he was running for president, he said he was all ears because he had big ears naturally, but that's the way you have to be in business. You have to listen, and therein you'll be the solution to all of your problems. So I think that would be the top 3 business philosophies that I would tell you. Oh, I've got one more.
Okay.
Everything that glitters is not gold. And the government business is not a giveaway. They are not just up there to give us money. You have to earn the money, and it's something you said earlier offline, you must add value. Yeah. If you don't add value, why are they going to do it? Huh? They may do it once or twice, but so you have to realize you should always be adding value to any products that you source for the federal government. And that value can be the value of an ongoing business where you've been in business quite a while and they don't have to worry about you. They can look at your history. That value can be that it simplifies their acquisitions because you have processes set up to make this acquisition go smoother. So some value is invisible, others are tangible.
I love that. It's such great advice because the objective is stay in business. Stay in business, provide whatever it is that you're providing, whatever you're sourcing, be a success. So then one day, if you want to sell it or you just want to retire, you want to pass it on, or you want to do something else, you have choices.
Yes, options.
Yes.
Yes, you always want to have an option in
Yes.
business, and you have to plan for those. Things just don't happen. They're planned for.
Right.
And success does not happen quickly. It may take you, you can make some money in the short term. It's depending on how you define success, but making some money is not my term of success because I have something I've got to do with that money and it doesn't stay very long. But making a successful business probably will take 2 to 5 years. Then you'll kind of say, okay, this is going to run even if I don't show up tomorrow, because I've got enough, my customers like me and I've got enough of them. If half of them leave, I'm still in business, which that's probably not. Or if my partner decides to leave or whatever, you can breathe easier after that period of time. But you've got to know it's work to build a business, especially in the early years.
And would love some kind of closing remarks for our amazing GovCon winners. Anything that you haven't shared that you wanted to share, or something that you wish I would have asked you that I haven't asked?
Kizzy, falling back on my 50, I've been in business for roughly 50 years. of some sort or another, the appliance business. I bought and sold airplanes for quite a while.
Wow.
I've done a few different things in life. One of the most important things in business that I use pre-COVID, and I'm starting to do again, is I like to meet the people I do business with. If I sell something to a VA in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Kansas City, I like to go up, be there when it's delivered, shake the people's hands, let them see a face. And next time I talk to them on the phone, guess what? They feel like they know you and you know them. And maybe more importantly are your manufacturers that you deal with. If you're buying consistently from a manufacturer, it's so important to either A, go to their home office and meet the person you're talking with, or B, go to a trade show that they're going to be at. And that's what I'll ask them. What trade shows do y'all attend? And if there's one close to me, with 300 miles or so, I would try to attend that. And I haven't done that in a few years because of COVID, but you try to attend that trade show, show them you're a serious business person, and let them get to know you and you get to know them better, because that really greases the skids from that time on. So I think meeting the people you do business with, either on the customer side or your supplier side, whether it be a manufacturer or a distributor, I like to go and meet people. And I think that's important. It just makes an impression that they don't forget. And very few people do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to set yourself apart. That's the way to do it. Just like I did with my graphics today. See?
You did. You're constantly setting yourself apart. I mean, that's why you've had such success.
Well, thank you.
You're always delivering. You're humble. It's clear how caring you are. And, I would be remiss if I did not also thank you for your service to our amazing nation. I'm just
Thank you.
So grateful for that. And I am beside myself that you're here today and that you shared so many nuggets and diamonds. And oh my goodness, you shared so much that I really hope everyone, you comment below. Of course, you're subscribing, hitting the notification button, going to govconwinners.com. But more importantly, that they're looking to put everything into practice so that they start.
Correct.
That's what I really hope that they get from this.
Let me add one last thing.
Yes.
I'm a big YouTuber, and being that I digest a lot of it. I don't have anything on YouTube.
Not yet.
I have learned, thank you. I have learned that hitting the like button is so important, and it costs the viewer nothing. But so many times, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else, you just go to the next video. But by hitting that like button, that gives more data to YouTube, and they'll keep this video up longer on the first page. And so other videos will come up. So if you like Kizzy, which I do, and you're a GovCon winner, then click that like button. And I also hit the notification, and I don't do that very many. I think I probably got 5 people that I hit the notification bell. So you are a chosen one.
Well, I'm very honored, so honored. And thank you again for everything that you shared, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Maybe we'll see you again.
Okay, awesome. And don't forget all my amazing GovCon winners. Everything is possible.